Notes from the Upper West Side, a novel by Dan Wrench.
Chapter 136, An Urban Million. When Bang announced in his shout whisper that Fonda was a freak, she heard it, and weirdly, it seemed to turn her on. "Bang!" she cried. She spun around fast enough for us to see she was still grinning her nuts evil grin. Then instantly she turned around again to face the wall. She started tap-tapping this little plastic bag of cuntish tasting tobacco she'd picked up off the bench and stared at it, pretending to care about its existence instead of the Lust Plus fantasies streaming in her head. I looked over to Bang like I was waiting for him to explain what he meant by "she's a freak." He looked at me through his one unsquinted eye and said, never mind, and went back to weighing out packets of the same cunt tobacco on the little postage scale. "There's a customer waiting." It was Cammy's voice coming from the vestibule. She charged into the room, but she almost tripped when she saw me in there. Maybe it was the army boots she was wearing. Maybe they were new. But she saw me and tripped like she was Stan or Ollie. And then she looked at Fonda and rolled her eyes. That's when she saw the big red blush on Fonda's face. "What?" Cammy asked. Fonda looked over at me and laughed, and then back at Cammy. She pointed at each of us in turn like she was 10 years old and catching out her naughty teenage sister and said sister's ex-boyfriend. Derp. Awkward. Cammy grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her. "There's a customer out there," she shouted. It was like she'd slapped Fonda's face. "Oh, fucking fuck," Fonda screamed. The blush was gone and so was she. I just remember the big lower lip jutting out of her face as she disappeared into the vestibule. This was Cammy. Biker jacket with silver snaps and leather epaulets. Underneath this and covering her ass, but just barely, was this super tight slip. Lacy, right? So you know it's got all the hallmarks of lingerie, just sheer enough to let you see the outline of her black panties underneath. And further down, she's wearing these thigh-high leg warmers that are nastily not for warming her legs. I hate that in a bitch. When she knows how to stroke your stones from across the room and does it just because she knows she can. And what I hate even more is it's completely narcissistic and sociopathic and other psychology words you hear on political talk shows. Look it. Here's how it works with your average brute slit. She only gets dressed for maybe 2 or 3 cocks when she goes out. She knows she's going to run into Jerry and Jimmy and a third guy she's just meeting for the day who we'll call Mr. X. But out she goes, and in New York she walks past dozens of guys and works with another dozen guys. In bars with a bar full of guys, and she doesn't care that she's transmitting the same drill me vibe to every one of them. Including her super and the clerk at the drugstore. All she knows is it's worth it to fuck with these guys' heads on the off chance she'll run into Jimmy or Jerry or Mr. X. Multiply these twats by an urban million and now they're spreading blue balls like it was the chicken Chinese flu. And dropping men on the sidewalk in every country in the world. That's who Cammy is. The twat. I should have thought of that before. It explained a lot knowing she was just a part variety egomaniac. She goes to her section of the workbench next to where Fonda had been sitting and gives me this eat shit ass clown look. Then rips open the snaps of her jacket and pulls it off, and boom. A massive set of bolt-on knockers are shadowing under this lacy tank top and aimed right at me. That tattoo on one of her arms? It was still just an outline not filled in yet, the cowardly cunt. Then after a few seconds, she turns the power chest away from me and faces the bench like she'd made her point and rested her case. Did I mention I hated the slit? I turned around and went over to my part of the bench, which really wasn't mine, but just the station I was working at yesterday. And I noticed it was full of stuff I didn't put there. And the stuff that I had put there, that was all in different places. Yeah, somebody else had been touching my stuff. And I noticed that instead of just a little baggie, my station had a scale with some pipe cleaners and some mailing boxes. So they made my station into one-man band island, I thought. They left it last night as the on-deck circle for people waiting to get back into the assembly line. It was like I'd swallowed a fishhook and now someone was starting to pull. So the preceding night, they really had written me off. I had a good mind to tour the room slapping faces. Nobody was talking. Not me, not Cammy, not even Bang, who was usually all chat. It was just a big wad of cotton silence, and then somewhere right about then, what got into my head was this little spark of thought that maybe they would be chatting up a storm if only I wasn't there. I saw that spark in my brain and I blew on it, so to speak. Got bigger and brighter, sure. What they were thinking about was what a dick I am. Only they can't talk about it now because I'm right there listening. They didn't expect me to come back today, so they didn't have a Plan B conversation dreamed up. Shit, I thought. If I left right now, they'd start chatting up a storm about what a big, sad clown I am, just like last night. Now the spark was this big bonfire. I could see in my brain a detailed image of their cackling joy, a joy that had commenced the moment I was out of their sight the night before. They were high as Satan on meth and laughing about how whiny and squishy I am. I was their new topic of conversation. I was their reason for connecting. But then a voice in my head said with profound confidence, "You're just being paranoid." And I gig cackled. I mean, I really chirped one out there for the whole room to hear. Look at you kids, the Paxamander was kicking in. That tablet I took out in the vestibule before Leatherpants showed up, that tablet of chill was just now hitting the drop dead you losers center of my give a fuck cortex.
Notes from the Upper West Side is a work of fiction. The people depicted in this work do not exist.
Notes from the Upper West Side. Copyright 2024 by Dan Wrench.